A 17-year-old leaked footage of Grand Theft Auto 6 before Rockstar had shown a single frame of it, and he did it from a budget hotel room, on a streaming stick plugged into the television while the police were keeping him in that room for his own safety. He was out on bail for hacking some of the largest companies in the world, and he was not finished. What he leaked and what happened to him next became one of the strangest cases in the history of gaming and cybercrime, and it still is not over. In September of 2022, the world got its first real look at Grand Theft Auto 6, and it did not come from Rockstar Games. It came from a compressed file posted to an online forum by someone using the name TipoTuberHacker. Inside were more than 90 videos, over 50 minutes of raw, unfinished footage from a game that would not be released for more than 4 years. The person behind the account was 17 years old. The footage was unmistakable. It showed a setting built to resemble Miami. Early versions of the two lead characters later confirmed as Lucia and Jason, along with level layouts, character animations, and test dialogue taken straight from the development build. This was not a trailer or a controlled reveal. It was the unfinished machinery of one of the most guarded projects in entertainment. On the 19th of September 2022, Rockstar confirmed that someone had illegally accessed its files and shared them online, and within days the incident was being described as one of the largest leaks in the history of the video game industry. Quick thing first, this channel is all about Grand Theft Auto 6, from the leaks to the launch. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and leave a like to help it reach more people counting down with you. Back to the story. Those clips were not a polished preview. They were the raw internals of a game still years from finished. Animation and physics tests, half-built level layouts, debug gameplay with development text still on screen, and unfinished character dialogue. If the footage was accurate, Lucia would be the first female lead in the history of the series. The clips also settled a question fans had argued over for years. A developer tag reading District Vice City confirmed the game would return to Vice City, Rockstar's version of Miami, shown as a modern, expanded map with metro stations, motels, and nightclubs that had never appeared in the franchise before. None of it was meant for the public. All of it was now everywhere. The break-in was not the movie image of hacking. The intruder had reached Rockstar's internal Slack server and its Confluence wiki, the ordinary tools a studio uses to talk to itself, and pulled the footage from there. The person responsible claimed to hold far more than video. They said they had the source code and assets for both Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto 6, along with a test build, and they tried to pressure Rockstar directly, chasing what they framed as a deal, and stating they would not accept an offer below a 5-figure sum for the older game's code. For Rockstar, the damage went beyond spoiled surprises. This was raw internal material from an unfinished game, and the company treated it as a serious breach rather than a marketing accident. As the clip spread across the internet, Take-Two Interactive, Rockstar's parent company, began issuing takedown notices to pull the footage back down. Inside the studio, the reported concerns were practical ones, that the leak would disrupt ongoing work, and that management might tighten the flexibility that had let developers work from home. Rockstar's response, when it came, was carefully worded. The company confirmed it had suffered what it called a network intrusion, in which an unauthorized third party illegally accessed and downloaded confidential information, including early development footage for the next Grand Theft Auto. It tried to steady its audience, saying it did not anticipate any long-term effect on the development of its projects, and that work on the next Grand Theft Auto would continue as planned. And it allowed itself one line of open frustration. "We are extremely disappointed," the company said, "to have any details of our next game shared with you all in this way." Take-Two's chief executive, Strauss Zelnick, called the leak terribly unfortunate and terribly disappointing, though he added that there was no evidence any material assets had been taken. Underneath the corporate wording, the situation was simple. A game the studio had guarded for years had been pried open, and there was nothing it could do to pull the footage back. On the evening of the 22nd of September 2022, the City of London police arrested a 17-year-old in Oxfordshire on suspicion of hacking in an operation supported by the National Cybercrime Unit. His name was Arion Kurtaj, and he belonged to a group that had already made itself known across the technology industry, called Lapsus Dollar. Lapsus Dollar was not a single-target operation. It was an international cybercrime group that, by the figures presented in court, caused close to $10 million in damage across a series of major companies. Its list of victims read like a directory of the modern internet: the ride-hailing company Uber, the chipmaker Nvidia, Microsoft, the identity security firm Okta, the British network provider EE, and the financial company Revolut. Kurtaj was identified as one of the group's key players. In his own attacks, he reached the records of around 5,000 Revolut customers and caused an estimated $3 million in damage to Uber. He was not tried alone. Alongside him was a 17-year-old who cannot be named for legal reasons, described by the prosecution, together with Kurtaj. as the central figures in the group. The detail that sets this case apart from an ordinary hacking story is where and when the Rockstar breach happened. By the time Kurtaj broke into Rockstar, he was already known to the authorities. He was on bail, under police protection, staying in a Travelodge hotel, and the police had already taken his laptop. He carried out the Rockstar hack anyway, using an Amazon Fire Stick connected to the hotel room television, along with a mobile phone. He had already used the same hotel room to attack Nvidia and the EE network. The largest games leak on record was run out of a budget hotel, on a streaming stick, by a teenager the police were actively watching at the time. The strangest part of the hotel room is why he was in it. Kurtaj had first been arrested in January of 2022, and again that March when he was 16, as part of a police operation against Lapsus Dollar. He was released on bail and banned from going online. By then he was a known figure in the hacking world, and that had become a danger to him. Rival hackers had doxed him, publishing his real name, his address, and photographs taken from his social media accounts. The City of London police moved him into the Travelodge in Bicester partly for his own protection, after tracing a string of online aliases back to him. The internet ban did not hold. From that protected room, still on bail, he kept hacking, and it was there, in September, that the Rockstar breach happened and the police caught up with him a second time. When the case reached Southwark Crown Court in London, the proceeding was unusual. The trial ran for roughly 2 months, but its purpose was narrower than a normal criminal trial. Psychiatrists had assessed Kurtaj as unfit to stand trial, which meant the jury was not asked to decide guilt in the ordinary sense. It was asked only to determine whether he had physically carried out the acts, a process the courts use when a defendant cannot properly take part in their own defense. After 9 hours and 19 minutes of deliberation, the jury found unanimously that he had committed 12 offenses, among them 6 counts of an unauthorized act to impair the operation of a computer, 3 counts of blackmail, 2 fraud offenses, and a refusal to hand over the password to his phone when police demanded it. For most stories, that would be the end. This one reopened. In July of 2026, reporting confirmed that Kurtaj had been moved out of the secure hospital and into a regular prison ahead of a retrial scheduled for November of that year. The BBC's cybersecurity correspondent Joe Tidy noted that the transfer suggested the authorities now believed he was medically fit to stand trial, something that had not been possible in 2023. The retrial is set to reassess his mental capacity and his criminal responsibility, which means the formal question of what he is guilty of, as opposed to what he was found to have done, is still open. There is a timing to all of this that would look forced in fiction. Grand Theft Auto 6 is scheduled for release on the 19th of November, 2026, the same month Kurtaj is due back in court, more than 4 years after a teenager showed the world an unfinished version of the game from a hotel room. The finished game and the person who leaked it are set to reach the public within the same few weeks. The world is finally ready for Grand Theft Auto 6. It got its first look long before it was. What started as 90 video clips on a forum became one of the strangest cases in the history of both gaming and cybercrime. A teenager reached inside one of the most secretive studios in the world, twice, and the second time he did it from a hotel room the police had already placed him in. He was found to have carried out the acts, judged too unwell to be tried in the ordinary way, and held in a secure hospital with no release date. Years later, he is back in prison and back before a court. In the same month, the game he exposed finally reaches the public. The footage he leaked was never meant to be seen, and most of the people who watched it had no idea they were looking at the work of a 17-year-old, or at the opening chapter of a case that still isn't closed.